Okay, good evening. Call this meeting of the Town of Thompson Planning and Zoning Commission to order on Tuesday, May 26, 2020 at 7 p.m. via Zoom. We will begin with a roll call. Mr. Lenke.
John B. Lenke, present.
Mr. Krugel.
Mike Krugel, present.
Ms. DeRozier.
Missy DeRozier's present.
Ms. Langlois.
Charlene Langlois present.
Ms. Chattel.
Christine Chattel present.
Mr. Rice.
John Rice, present.
Mr. Blackmer.
Randy Blackmer, present.
Mr. Santos.
Brian Santos, present.
Joseph Prody Brown, present. Have I missed anyone?
Did you get Mike Krogel with John Lenke?
I did, yes.
Okay.
Okay, we will seat Mr. Santos for Mr. Werge. Okay, before I get to item 2, I just want to remind everyone that this session is being audio recorded as well as video recording. Commissioners and staff will generally remain unmuted, able to be heard, and asked to be, when possible, have video kept on. For applicants or for staff or for those representing applicants, they will be unmuted when that application is to come. In terms of citizens' comments, we'll ask you to enter your name and address in the chat function, and we'll recognize people that way. So thank you.
Joe, if I could just clarify the chat function, it is currently turned off. I will turn the chat function on during citizens' comments, and at that point, folks will be able to raise their hand or chat or whatever.
Thank you.
Joe, John Rice, you're indicating citizens' comment, but if we're going to have a public hearing, the public will be allowed to talk, right?
Of course, yes.
Well, that would be, yes, that would be another instance.
Yes, let me get to item 2. Item 2, public hearing, PZC application 20-08, applicant J&J Construction LLC property, owner Richard DeRozier, 484 and 486 Quadic Town Farm Road, map 158, block 20, lot 81, for a gravel operation permit. Because of a technical defect in the public.
Should I recuse myself?
You can. Go ahead.
Okay.
Don't go too far. Because of a technical defect in the publication of the notice, the opening of tonight's public hearing on application 20-08 will be continued to the Commission's next monthly meeting on June 22nd, 2020.
Joe, what was the technical difficulty?
It wasn't properly posted according to Executive Order 7-I.
And that indicates what? This is John Rice. Just
Yeah,
for the record. Okay.
thank you.
No, I know, just for the record, I guess.
Appreciate that, yeah. So the executive order allows for a relaxation of public noticing for public hearings, provided that a public notice, as would be provided in a newspaper, is posted on the site of the board or commission holding the public hearing, and that did not occur.
Okay, John Rice again, Joe. Now that wouldn't cover the posting of our agenda, because I mean, it was on the website. I went on the Town of Thompson website. The agenda was there, and it did indicate that there was a public hearing.
Right, just as legal notice is required in other publications and things like that, we are under advice from our counsel that the posting of the agenda did not meet the requirements under Executive Order 7I.
Okay, and if I may continue, Joe, John Rice,
Yeah.
is that rather than waiting another month, seeing how it was a misstep, I would think, by the commission, is that we would schedule it as soon as possible and have a special meeting. Now, if the regs call for a 2-week notification, I think the applicant can change the sign that he has posted out in front of his site that we're going to be considering. And also it would post it in the town hall as an extension. And I don't have a calendar, I didn't look it up, but I would suggest, as we did for the Mason House, have a special meeting, probably in 2 weeks. See what the commission feels. Seeing how it was no fault of the applicant, I think that was our fault. We didn't have it posted properly.
All right, thank you, Mr. Rice. Any thoughts from other members of the commission?
If that was a motion, I'd second it.
Yeah.
Was it, Mr. Rice, a motion?
No, it was just for discussion, but I wanted to hear, but I will make that in the form of a motion. Without setting the date, because I don't have a calendar in front of me. But I think if Cindy can look up what's the earliest that we can have that meeting, so be it, and then we post it. That would be in the form of a motion.
Give me a minute to get my calendar up.
Yeah, thank you, Cindy. While we're
I've got a calendar in front of me, Cindy. What is it? Is it 14 days or is it 14 days plus 1? In other words,
Up to
not the
15
meeting days.
days. It's starting on the 27th, up to 15 days.
The best time
So
would
that
be
would
June
be-
15th. I'll put it. 14 days.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
June-
6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. That's June 11th. If I count it correctly, which is a Thursday.
Yeah, that's
Correct.
Tuesday, but I'll make that motion that we reschedule this public hearing zoning application 20-8 to a special meeting on June 11th at 7 p.m. by Zoom.
Motion has been made,
I'll second it.
seconded by Mr. Blackmer. The motion is to schedule a public hearing for PZC application 20-08 on Thursday, June 11th at 7 p.m. via Zoom.
Yes.
Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, we'll take a roll call vote. Mr. Lenke,
John B. Lanky, yes.
Mr. Krogel,
Yes.
Mr. Langlois,
Yes.
Ms. Chattel,
Yes.
Mr. Rice,
John Rice, yes.
Mr. Blackmer,
Randy Blackmer, yes.
Mr. Santos,
Yes.
Joseph Brody Brown, yes. Item 3, discuss public hearing and possible action. Item 4,
Joe, if I can
approve
interrupt,
minutes.
Alvin is
Yes.
in the meeting now.
Chris Nelson's in
Excellent,
the
thank you
meeting,
very
too.
much. Excellent, thank you very much. Okay. Mr. Hill, were you present for that discussion?
Oh, I was not privileged.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Nelson, were you present for that discussion?
Just for, a part of it, I believe.
Would you feel comfortable voting, or would you prefer not to vote on that motion?
On the motion about moving the meeting, or
Yes, about moving the public hearing, yep.
to have it in 2 weeks?
Okay.
June 11th.
7 p.m.
I'll vote yay on that. I'll vote yes on that.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Nelson. Okay, item 4, thank you, Madam Planner, for helping with that. Item 4, approve minutes, April 16th, 2020, Planning and Zoning Commission special meeting.
John Rice, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second that,
second.
Charlene Langlois.
You beat
Okay,
me, Sharon.
motion made by, motion made by Mr. Rice, seconded by Ms. Langlois to approve the minutes of the special meeting of Thursday, April 16th, 2020. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, I will move to a vote. Mr. Lenke,
John B. Lanky abstained because I had no notification of that Zoom meeting.
Mr. Krogel,
I also abstained because I was not present.
Ms. DeRozier,
Yes, I approve the minutes.
Ms. Langlois,
Yes.
Ms. Chattel,
I abstain because I didn't have notification of the meeting.
Mr. Rice,
John Rice, yes.
Mr. Blackmer,
Abstain.
Mr. Hill,
Abstain.
Mr. Nelson,
I accept them.
Mr. Santos? I believe that was an abstain vote.
Yes, it was. Abstain, yeah.
Thank you. Joseph Prody Brown, yes. Item 5, applications received. PZC application 20-09, applicant and owner Patricia Rudzinski, 0 Labby Road, map 95, block 27, lot 17, zone R40, gravel operation renewal permit.
The owner's not here, Ms. Radinsky, but this is a recurring renewal of the gravel operation in the event that someone does want to come and start doing a gravel operation. And so I think this is like the 3rd year that she has renewed this without any activity on the land. And I would also requesting a motion to waive the fee because absolutely his only work that was done on it was just having her fill out the application and processing it for the public hearing. So that is my suggestion, to waive her fee. She has paid the fee in the last 2 years, but because there isn't any activity on the property, that is what we're requesting.
All right, this is Randy
I have a
Blackmer.
quick question.
Go ahead. We'll start with Randy and then Charlene. Was that you?
Okay,
Yes.
I would move that we approve this, waiving the fee.
Okay. Charlene, you had a question?
Yeah, I just want to make sure that if we waive the fee and then she wants to start working on it, that's not going to be against her, will it? She'll be able to come in and start working on it without the fee?
They don't give their last name.
Or will then she have to pay?
Votes on the abstain and who's voting.
I would believe that would, if she's gonna have operation start, could be 6 months now, she should pay the fee at the amount of time that it's been being used. That would be my suggestion.
Sorry, could you repeat that, Mr. Lenke?
If we waiver the fee as of now because there was no operation going on for the last 2 years, like Ms. Dunn says, I understand and I get it. But if somebody comes in the meantime, it could be 3 months, 5 months, 6 months, then at that point, then the fee should come into play.
Ms. Dunn, do you have an answer to Ms. Langlois' question?
Did you ask me a question, Joe?
What was your
Yeah,
question?
Charlene had asked if the if we waive the fee and then she decides she wants to do work on it during this year, will that burn her in the end?
Well, I think John made the suggestion that we charge a fee if it starts in operation.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I just wanted an answer if you had an answer to Charlene's question specifically.
I'm sorry, Glory had called me while Charlene was talking, so Charlene, can you ask me that question again, please?
I just wanted to make sure that it's not going to be held against her, that we held the fee and then she wants to start working on it. And then we say, oh, well, the 6 months or the year's up and you didn't renew it, but she would be renewing it with no fee, except if she starts working on it, then Mr. Lenke's suggesting then charge her the fee.
Yes, and that will be in the permit. That will be one of the conditions of the permit that I send to her. So she'll understand that.
If I may, Joe,
Mr. Rice?
John Rice, I don't know if John Linky made a motion to that effect, but if he hadn't, I'll make a motion and we can do which one, act on which one. But I would suggest that we approve application, application 20-09 with the condition that if she
She starts operating.
I'll use another word, but if she initiates activity at that site, that she would come in and pay the fee, the application fee. In addition, that she would have to give us an estimate of the amount of yardage that's being taken out at a period of time for this renewal, and pay that fee also. So to answer Charlene, but not to answer Charlene's question, I believe, is that if we approve the application, that would be good for a year.
Yes.
Okay. So my motion is that we approve the application 20.9. If she resumes operation at the site, that she would come in and pay the application fee in addition to the yardage fee.
Okay, point of order. Mr. Blackmer had made a motion to accept application 20-09 with a waiving of the fee.
I'll withdraw my motion in favor of John's.
Mr. Blackmer withdraws his motion. Mr. Rice moves to accept application 20-09 with the criterion that if activity resumes at the site, the applicant would pay the application fee at that time, and
the yardage fee, Joe, is the.
I'm sorry, yeah, thank you.
That he anticipates.
And the yardage fee for anticipated removal. Seconded by Ms. DeRozier. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, before we move to voting, Gloria, if you could, sorry, just refresh my memory. Whom did I seat Brian for?
Let me go back.
Robert Word.
Robert Wurge.
Excellent. Okay.
Okay,
so just
and one more thing. Can I ask you to please have people identify themselves better, because I'm having trouble hearing who's abstaining and who's actually voting for the motions that are being put out.
Certainly, thank you.
I'm gonna go back to the recording, but I hope I get it right.
Thank
Because
you.
I can't see anybody's faces. I can only see blocks.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
Names.
Our apologies.
That's important.
Yeah, yes, it is. Thank you. Alvin is not seated at this time, just for the record. So, hearing no further discussion on Mr. Rice's motion to approve with condition, we'll move to a vote. John Lenke?
John B. Linky, yes.
Mr. Krogel?
Yes.
Mike Krogel, yes. Ms. DeRozier?
Missy DeRozier's, yes.
Ms. Langlois?
Charlene Langlois, yes.
Ms. Chattel?
Christine Chattel, yes.
Mr. Rice?
John Rice, yes.
Mr. Blackmer?
Randy Blackmer, yes.
Mr. Santos?
Brian Santos, yes.
Mr. Nelson?
Christopher Nelson, yes.
Joseph Brody Brown, yes. Application, PZC application 20-10, applicant French River Materials, owner Strategic Commercial Realty Incorporated, doing business as Rawson Materials, 307 Reardon Road, LLC, map 156, block 8, lot 7, zone renewal of gravel mining operation to excavate sand and gravel.
Harold is here to talk on this application, so if he's unmuted, could you mute him? It's Harold.
Harold Hopkins?
Yes.
He is currently unmuted, actually. I missed him when I was muting everyone, so he's already
Okay.
live.
All right. So he's here to speak on the application.
Good evening, everyone.
Hello.
Hello.
So we're here for our annual renewal, and things are pretty much status quo. We continue to progress through the project. And
Joined too late.
Next time, you listen to me. I knew you put the wrong number.
What's happening?
and I'm not
Sorry,
sure.
Mr. Hopkins.
But if anybody,
Sorry, please continue.
and if anybody has any questions, but things again are pretty much status quo, and we're just continuing with the project as planned.
I think you. Does anyone have any questions for any commissioner, Mr. Krogel?
Yes, sir. It's my understanding that they have not paid the hookup fee for the sewage.
Mike, you have the wrong application.
I'm sorry.
Next one.
Next one. Okie dokie.
Yes. Okay.
Jumping the gun.
I got him. I got him.
Yeah, I
Cynthia.
got him.
I got him.
He pulled me back.
Any other questions from the commissioners for Mr. Hopkins on behalf of the applicant?
Joseph
Mr. Chair.
John Rice, just a comment, looking at the paperwork here from Harold, Mr. Hopkins, just that the blast, two of the concerns when he first started this operation was the blasting in the trucks that are used in that road. I want to, if everybody reads that, you want to say, I don't think, Cindy, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think we've had any complaints about the blasting that's being done, seeing how he's only doing half a blast, so to speak, at a time. And in addition to, is that by the railroad, he's moved over 108,000 yards, I think it was, the ship by mail, rail rather. So that's taken a lot of the truck traffic off the town road. So I just appreciate what he's doing down there via the railroad. My comment.
Kudos. Kudos. Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Lanky,
I make a motion that we accept P&Z application 2010.
I will second it. Mike Krogel, second.
motion made by Mr. Lanky, seconded by Mr. Krogel to accept application 20-10. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, we move to a vote. Mr. Lanky,
John B. Linky, yes.
Mr. Krogel,
Mike Krogel, yes.
Ms. DeRosiers,
Missy DeRosiers, yes.
Ms. Langlois,
Charlene Langlois, yes.
Ms. Chattel,
Christine Chattel, yes.
Mr. Rice,
John Rice, yes.
Mr. Blackmer,
Randy Blackmer, yes.
Mr. Santos,
Brian Santos, yes.
Mr. Nelson,
Christopher Nelson, yes.
Joseph Perotti Brown, yes. Application 20-11.
Joe, before you get into that,
Yeah.
I just noticed that Mrs. Radinsky signed in, so I didn't realize that when I was talking, and I was just wondering if you wanted her to say anything or if she had anything to say. I don't know how proper that is, but I apologize for not seeing her name up here.
Certainly.
She would have to be unmuted.
I I just did.
Okay. Again, Pat, I didn't realize that you were on the Zoom meeting when we were doing your application, and I just asked Joe if you had anything to say, if he would let you talk. So it's up to you, Joe.
Yeah, so Ms. Wodzinski, we have, so the application was approved with the condition that if any activity does resume at the site, you would pay a fee at that time for both the application and the yardage of the anticipated removal.
Yes,
Certainly-
yes, yes, I understand and I agree.
Okay, thank you very much. Thanks, Cindy. Thank you for your, thank you, Ms. Wodzinski.
Okay.
You're welcome.
Application 20-11, applicant and owner, Northeast Sand and Gravel, owner John Mercier at 659 Riverside Drive. Access drive is north of North Grosvenor-Dale Post Office, map 63, block 58, lot 15P, located in R40 zone district, for renewal of gravel mining permit to excavate sand and gravel.
Okay, I don't know if John is here representing. I see a 508 phone number, but I've got to check to see if that's.
Do you see John Mercier is
Cin-
here?
Yes, I'm
Cindy,
here.
he is here, and I just unmuted him.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Mercier?
Okay.
Yes, sir.
If you have any anything to say for the application, or
So it's just a standard renewal. I think this is our third year and could be our final year.
okay, that's all here in the paperwork. Great. Cindy, anything outside of your report, Cindy?
Yes, I did get a letter from TWPCA today, David Chaput, and he is concerned because, well, I guess I'll have to read the letter into the record. I am the director of the WPCA, and I would like to make you aware of a situation we have been dealing with regarding municipal sewer collection with Northeast Sand and Gravel, and hopes you can assist us in this matter. Mike Krugel has brought to my attention that Northeast Sand and Gravel has applied for a gravel mining renewal. On that renewal application form, it states they are connected to our municipal sewer system. The problem is they connected to the sewer system without going through the proper channels and have not paid WPCA the $4,000 commercial connection fee. Would this be a violation of the permit application for a renewal? And would that be an avenue we could pursue to collect the $4,000 owed to the WPCA? Mike Krugel informed me he would be at tonight's P&Z meeting and would like to discuss this matter further at the time. Thank you for your attention in this matter. David Chaput, Director TWPCA. I did attempt to call David. They did give me a telephone number, but either I wrote it down wrong or they gave me the wrong number to contact him, meaning the gentleman at the TWPCA. I know last year that you approved the renewal, and he was tied into the sewer, so that issue didn't come up last year, but in the first year it did. And I went upstairs and got the building permit for the installation, and hopefully it's here, but if not, I apologize. Let me see his application. It is our understanding, it has been our understanding that the fee was waived. So I am really going to hand it over to John and have John discuss it with you, if that's okay.
Yep, Mr. Mercier?
Okay, so we had a special meeting for that installation of the scale house, and that fee was waived due to the nature of it being temporary and seasonal. And I think the conversation went to the fact of, like, when that becomes a development, there'll be plenty of fees paid at that point.
We do have a lease here. There's a lease in his record from the previous year with Paul LaRoche, who owns that property over there. And so basically he had Paul LaRoche's permission to tie into his lines. Is that correct, John?
Yes, and that's where, that's where the issue had ended a couple of years ago when we had the special meeting for the trailer.
Okay, so I do have the permit here. It says Thompson Residential Commercial Permit for sewer connection permit. Kevin Curtis, which is John's partner, at 659 Riverside Drive. Office trailer for temporary use. 1 sink, 1 toilet, 1 employee. So that's the information I have for you. In regards to, does this stop an application? As far as I know, the only state statute, and please correct me if I'm wrong, the only time an application can be stopped is when we're dealing with the inland wetlands and not other boards or commissions or other departments.
So if I may, certainly, we've got to do this for another 20 years and not paying our local bills, so they're not going to get us there. So if that's something that has to be dealt with, we certainly will, but it was my understanding that it was waived at the beginning. And we do get a quarterly or monthly bill, whatever it is that we pay. In fact, it was on our controller's desk today for the most recent to get paid.
If I may?
Mr. Crowell?
Yes. Now, my memory is not the greatest, and I do remember Mr. LaRoche giving him permission to put the trailer there. But I do not remember anything about a store hookup. The only permission I understand it to be was to use that site. Okay. That being said, they do have a water bill, a sewer bill in front of them currently, but that is either the first or second one that they have ever received, because we never knew that they were on the sewer line. And for the record, I just wanted to be known that I am chairman of the WPCA. So this is an ongoing thing, and it's been questioned for a while. At one point, it was my understanding that they were having their tanks pumped by somebody, that they were not hooked up to the line. If we cannot stop the application, that's well, but I wanted on record that I don't know who gave permission to waive the fee, because that would be up to the TWPCA to do so. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Crowell. Any other questions or comments?
Joe, John Rice, that was going to be my question. Piggyback as to Cindy indicated that the fee, or John did, that the fee was going to be waived. Have Cindy look into who waived that fee. I mean, I don't think it has anything to do with our approval of this renewal of the application. I mean, that's a separate thing, but it is just that it fits into the conversation. I don't think we have any, jurisdiction over that.
If they haven't filed their paperwork properly, that is a repercussion to be dealt with. And at the same time, I must say also that Marla Butts did send a letter out to them requesting to find out who, or given a name of who did authorize the waiver. And they have never gotten back to her, to my knowledge, with an answer. And that was over a year ago.
Joe, John Rice again, in response as to what does that have to do with the gravel operation permit procedure or requirements? I don't see the connection there. Not that I don't think that, that's the WPCA's, I wouldn't say it's a problem, but it's their concern, not necessarily ours.
Well, I do know that when other people are not, but if you're looking for a occupation permit and you do not have your sewer hookup authorization, you're not going to get your permit. And I know that other people in town have to pay their fees, and this is what happens when some pay and some people don't. People get frustrated and upset, and then they start saying things about the town. I just feel that the paperwork was not properly processed at the beginning, and as far as I know, no waiver was ever given. And Mr. Lorette, I never saw a letter authorizing him to use this, just to use the pad. But you are correct, John. That is the WPCA's issue.
And I think Again, I think that's a WPCA concern, not ours, because there's nothing in our requirement. And you mentioned a CO that it doesn't pertain to this application. I appreciate what you're trying to say and do, but it's nothing to do with this application.
I hear you.
Thank you. Joe,
Mr. Rice?
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I have a couple of questions. Cindy, looking at all those photographs that you took of the site, I have a concern about photographs 7 through 11, where you're saying a reclamation area. It doesn't look like, I haven't done the site. Maybe I ought to schedule myself with John to look at it, but it doesn't look like it's reclaimed. I see trees all over the place. I see boulders in those photos. So I'd like to know what area is that you're indicating that it's been reclaimed.
That was an indication that they're starting to reclaim that. They're going to be working on that this year to reclaim. Let me just pull the big map out.
Yeah, in your comments, I think you said 45 days that they would reclaim that area. But
That's I guess you would have to ask that of John.
What phase is that? And number 2 is, what phase are they currently working in?
All right, hold on a minute. Let me just look at this.
Mr. Mercier, did you want to answer that?
Okay, that they're working on phase 4. The section on phase 4. Yeah, phase 4. Is that right, John?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. So phase 3 is where the slopes are that he's reclaiming. No, yes, phase 3, yes. That's the area where they're going to start reclaiming. So, John, you said 45 days and you should have that reclaimed. Do you want to address that?
Sure, that's correct. We, since the weather has started to cooperate, our bulldozer has been on that project full time. So it's dramatically changed since our most recent site walk, Cindy. And we are reclaiming everything that we can as we speak.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Now, we did.
John Rice
I'm sorry.
again.
Mr. Rice?
What phases have, this is for the applicant, what phases have you completed excavating?
We're completing phase 4 now, Mr. Rice.
And you've completed phase 1, 2, and 3 as far as excavation is concerned?
Yes.
Okay.
So one thing that we did do is we modified the series of events due to us moving the processing operation.
Okay.
So there's a considerable amount of material that we now have to crush, that we recently asked permission for, or last year asked permission for.
Right.
So in order to stay away from the neighbors, we kind of had to multitask, for lack of a better term, and use a couple phases at the same time to do that. But now that we're at that point, we can start to close it up, and we are doing that.
Okay. Again, Mr. Chairman, another question, John, for John, the applicant. Phase 4, how long do you think you'll be in that area?
I think this time next year we could be closing up everything.
So, Mr. Chairman, my suggestion is that, seeing how he's indicated that he'd be reclaiming phase 1, 2, and 3 within the next 45 or 60 days, the next 2 months, I would think, depending on the weather. Of course, then I would, if everybody's all done, I'd make a motion to approve the application 20-11, Northeast Sand and Gravel, with the stipulation that they complete reclaiming phase 1, 2, and 3 within 60 days, depending on the weather. And Cindy, our CEO, can make exception to that date. That would be my motion, sir.
Okay, motion has been made to accept the application with the stipulation that reclamation of phases 1 through 3 be completed within 60 days with discretion for the ZEO to allow for adverse weather conditions. There's a second to that motion?
Randy Blackmer, I second.
Randy Blackmer seconds. Any discussion on the motion? Cindy, I just want to dot our i's and cross our t's. All the fees have been received, and
Oh, yes, yes.
great. And also in your report, you suggested changing of the language of the site plan for operation hours.
Yes, that, I apologize for that. I did, but was that for this or was it for,
No, it's
hold
on.
on, let me find my report. I'm sorry, I've got papers all over the place. Oh, yes, site plan indicates hours of operation between 7 a.m., 5 p.m., Monday through Friday. No operation on Sunday and holidays. I recommend conditions of acceptance needs to include hours of operation are 7 a.m. to 5 p.m., Monday through Friday, Saturday, 7 a.m. to 12 p.m., no operation on Sundays and holidays.
Mr. Chairman, I'll amend my motion to include that the hours of operation from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m., Monday through Friday, Saturday, 7 a.m. to noon. Why decide May? Just a side note, Cindy, why Saturday at 12 o'clock?
I didn't understand your question, John, I'm sorry.
Why are you restricting Saturday work till noontime?
I believe that is what our regulations say?
Current regs, okay.
Yes.
And if I may, Mr. Chairman, before I finalize that motion, talking to the applicant, does that seem agreeable, John?
Sure.
Okay,
Yeah, that's basically what we do anyways.
okay. Then that'll be the end of my motion, John, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Blackmer, I believe you seconded Mr. Rice's motion. Do you second it as amended?
I'll accept that as in my second.
Okay, so again, the motion has been made to accept application 20-11 with the condition that phases 1 through 3 be reclaimed within 60 days with the discretion of the ZEO, and that hours of operation be amended to read Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. till 5 p.m., Saturday, 7 a.m. till noon. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, we will move to a vote. Mr. Lenke?
John B. Linky, yes.
Mr. Krogel?
Abstain.
Ms. DeRosiers?
Missy DeRosiers, yes.
Ms. Langlois?
Charlene Langlois, yes.
Ms. Chattel?
Christine Chattel, yes.
Mr. Rice?
John Rice, yes.
Mr. Blackmer?
Randy Blackmer, yes.
Mr. Santos?
Brian Santos, yes.
Mr. Nelson?
Christopher Nelson, yes.
And Joseph Prody Brown votes no. In our regulations, there are criteria regarding the health of the area, and my concern with the water control issue leads me to vote no. The motion carries. The application is accepted. Item 6, applications received after agenda posted.
None.
Thank you. Item 7.
None.
Thank you, Cindy. Item 7, Tira, if you could allow the chat box to be
Yep,
opened.
let me go in here. So I am allowing chat, and what has worked well for Board of Finance is anybody wishing to submit a citizen's comment, please type your name and address into the chat window, and the chairman will call on you in order.
Thank you, Tara.
Would one of the commissioners just go in and make sure that the chat function is working? It should have been allowed just now, but I don't want to exclude anybody because, oh, here we go. Yep, all right, so it is working.
There's nobody on it yet.
It's up to you how long you want to hold this. Oh, here we go. Christine Campbell. Christine, would you please type in your address so we have it for the record as well? And I will unmute you while you're doing that.
The chair recognizes Christine Campbell, 861 Thompson Road.
Hi, this is Christine
You should be
Campbell.
unmuted now.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. This is Christine Campbell. I just have one comment to make, please. I would just like to know why, that's not really a question, it's kind of redundant, but I'd like to know why the citizens' comments are not at the very beginning of the meeting, because I see that there were 3 things initially on the agenda today. If you're a neighbor of one of these issues on the agenda, that you have virtually, literally nothing to say until after the fact, the P&Z has already voted. So I think that to have a transparent board at the beginning should be citizens' comments. That way you can at least address something, a concern before the commission votes on it. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Christine. Any other citizens' comments?
There's one from Nancy's iPhone to everyone, hard to hear, mute. I don't know what that means.
I think she was just, that was just the sound quality from the prior comment. It was clipping in and out.
Okay.
Okay, seeing no one else in the chat, I do want to make sure that everyone who's had a chance to, or I'm sorry, who wishes to, has the chance to comment. Certainly, if you are, if you're having difficulty locating the chat function, but wish to be able to make a comment. Okay.
Sounds like Morse code to me.
Great.
What is that? What's that beeping noise?
Moving on to item 8, reports of officers and staff. We received a budget report for February 2020, March 2020. Questions or comments on the budget reports as we received them?
Joe, Mr. Chairman, John Rice.
Mr. Rice.
Just the report in that, on the report, we still have over half of our budget available. I would like to make a comment to Cindy in that have Gloria, secretary, fill out a travel voucher for her delivering all our packages. That was not part of her job description when we hired her. And I would suggest, Cindy, if you can fill out or give her a hand, filling out a mileage report and submit that. and charge our account, that 522.30, so she can get reimbursed for that mileage that she did. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rice. Director of Planning and Development report.
Hi. Joe and I spoke on Friday about the proposed draft for the regs rewrite. We received quite a few comments. I think when I printed them all out, ended up being around 90 pages all received. So at this point, we have to sort of decide how we're going to move forward with the process. And Joe and I came up with what we think is a good tentative schedule, I guess, that will allow us to, move forward with our discussion of the comments received on the proposed new draft, and also allow additional space for public comment. So I started today compiling a discussion guide with all the comments received, essentially page by page, item by item, listing out the comments that were received on that item. And I will forward that to you guys when I'm done with it. I think we're going to have to do this in 2 or 3 sessions. I'd love to say I think that's going to be 2, but realistically, I think it will be 3. The first of which I would like to schedule this evening. Following the working group special meetings like the ones that we had when we were drafting the regs, I would like to hold not a formal public hearing, but an informational session so that people can ask additional questions. Because the comments received aren't necessarily the same as questions. After that, we could schedule the public hearing to discuss the regs. I would also propose that although we would close that public hearing at that next meeting, to leave the opportunity to receive email comment to be read into the minutes at the following meeting, and then everybody gets a chance to vote on it. Joe, did that cover everything we went over? I feel like I did.
Yes, yeah, I think that sounds right.
Yeah. It's a bunch of extra steps, but since, there's some anxiousness over not being able to meet in person, we thought that added, the ability for the public to comment. In a perfect world, I'd like to get this adopted by the 30th of June. I think realistically, I have to look at the 31st of July. But as you guys know, after that, I have to start working on the POCD, and I feel it's pretty important that we have the regs fundamentally wrapped up before that process starts, because the documents do inform one another.
Thank you, Terry. Yeah, so what we're looking at is 2 to 3 subcommittee meetings, that question and answer evening, and then the public hearing.
Correct. But the public hearing, even though we would close it at that meeting, again, leave an additional comment collection period open, so the vote wouldn't happen until the following meeting, which might be a special meeting, depending on the time frame.
Does that make sense to people? That what we would do is we would close the public hearing, except that we would accept emailed or written comments for a period of time after that session of the public hearing.
I think,
No,
Mr. Chair,
John Rice.
Mr. Linky and then Mr. Rice.
Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, Mr. Linky.
I think what Terry just explained to us, let's just bite the bullet here, get the subcommittee meetings in, let's get this over with so she can really concentrate on what she has to, and starting in August. I think the regs are pretty good from what we're adopting, and it's moving. It's going to move things forward for us. So let's just bite the bullet and just get the meetings in and over with. I know we have to donate a little more time, but we have to do what we have to do.
Thank you. Mr. Rice?
Joe, I don't think we can, I know for a fact, is that once you close a public hearing, you can't get any more information from the public. So,
We ran that by council, Amy and two of the attorneys from Halloran and Sage, and they did not object to that. I will go back and just double confirm that that is acceptable, but they didn't find that objectionable.
I think you have to be, I would like to see be specific and send them a letter rather than a verbal thing. But I don't want to get into, well, I thought this is what you meant. Put it in writing as to say, once we close a public hearing, can we accept additional comments from the public? That has to be in
Yeah,
writing from the legal.
that's reasonable, John. I can ask him for a written response specifically. That's no problem.
Because reading his responses to your first inquiry about different things in the regs, to me, he didn't seem like he would commit one way or the other. He would say, well, that's up to the commissions for discussion. There was several times that he pretty much used that phrase. And I would like to see, what you and Joe or whoever's been reviewing this, all that information from the people. I need a hard copy to look at that.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry, John. I should have said that. It is also my intent, that's my omission. It is also my intention to forward you guys the full set of public comments. I have them. I've saved them all. I have it in e-form. It has to be 2 attachments because there's so much of it. So I separated it out into comments from staff, council, and commissioners in one packet, and comments from the general public in another. I'm sorry. I should have said that right up front. That's my bad.
All right, no problem. Is that, Mr. Chairman, also is that once we formalize this package to the satisfaction of the committee, of course, is to send it to legal counsel and get their blessing. I mean, they have to approve what we're doing, other than we're going to start all over or get a whole lot of challenges on our regs. Tara, I also I read the comments from Wetland Marla, and I think she pretty much addressed that type of thing as to some of the regulations that we're putting. We ought to run it. Is that back feed coming from me, or?
I'm not sure where the interference is coming from, John. I think I heard you. Marla did. Sounds like somebody's got a television in the background. If that person could mute just temporarily, so that we can hear each other.
Nature is medicine. Happy balance, people understand that intuitively. You can't just sit on a couch all day barking at other people on social media. Your soul will rot.
Somebody's listening to a webinar or something in the background.
Tara, it appears to be Alvin, because his screen keeps lighting up. This is Amy.
I will,
I'm
going to mute Alvin and see if that helps. Oh yeah, it does. Look at that.
Wow.
Naughty Alvin. So anyway, I think I got the gist of what you were saying, John, which is that Marla had some additional points that she had asked for council's response. I have those, and they're included in the packet. I mean, council has read the draft a couple of times and provided comment. Some of those comments were that it was the commission's discretion. Rich Roberts did reply to Marla's comments this last time around as well, but I'm sure it would be prudent to have them look at the final draft. I mean, I guess that you could, in the final vote to approve pending confirmation from council, but they have seen the draft. So
But I'm sorry, buttoning it, but if we do that, then we have to go back all over again. I would like to see, once we finalize it, with the governing factors here, the commission, okay, is the set regulations we have for the town of Thompson. Once we do that, then we could send it to his comments and whether we accept them or not and move on. And I think your goalpost of before we start the COPD is reasonable. We just have to get to that. Thank you.
So I guess I'm not clear on how you think we should change the order of action. You just want after we close the public hearing to send the final consensus draft to the attorney before your final vote? Is that what you're suggesting?
No, I don't think so. I think that once we get all the public comment, I personally, as you know, that I think we can set up some space. This is 2 months down the road, and we could get the auditorium or a classroom at the school and distance ourselves and have our, even at tea, there's enough space in that community room that we could distance ourselves, 11 of us, and to work on this one-on-one rather than this Zoom thing, which is.
Well, the problem with that, John, and I hear what you're saying, the problem with that, and another piece that I had suggested to Joe was, although we don't typically have a public, a citizens comment period during those working meetings,
Right.
to invite the people who made comments to be able to dial in if the commission had questions about their concerns. And there are some of those concerns where that makes more sense than others. But that becomes much more problematic with a live meeting than with a virtual meeting. I would, and also we are limited in who and how many people we can allow from the public to listen. And although, again, we haven't had citizens comment periods on those agendas, the public has been invited to attend, and I would submit that that is still the wisest course of action. And even if we were to find acceptable way to distance ourselves for an in-public meeting, I think that becomes problematic currently with the general public.
Our subcommittees don't have to have citizen comments. This is a subcommittee.
It doesn't, but it's still a public meeting.
Yeah, and they could sit there if they wish.
Right, but the concern is how many people in the room, John.
Okay, my comment.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking right now at the participants window. So we've got however many commissioners, 10, and there's 26 people here. So that's 16 people. If all of these people wanted to come and listen, even if there isn't an open public comment period, then they would not be able to do that if we were having an in-person meeting distanced with ourselves. They would be able to do that if we were doing it on an online platform like this. So I'm going to strongly suggest that we do that in that way.
And, I like the one-on-one, face-to-face, as you know. My thought is that suppose we use the auditorium at the high school, is that we sat up on the stage and like they do for the Board of Finance or the budget and that type of thing, and have anybody sitting in the audience. There's 750 seats out there, and we could tape off to give them the social distancing. Just a suggestion.
I'm good. I hear it's not a bad suggestion. I'm going to go out on a limb and say Melinda Smith is never going to okay that. She doesn't even. Oh. She is Melinda, the superintendent of schools. Wow. I don't believe that she is going to give us access to that building at the current time.
Well, no.
Mr. Chairman, call Tents for Rent, put up a tent in the library parking lot, then you can have it.
No,
Yeah, I mean, so we are under certain directives at this time as it is, and keeping abreast of those. I think the important thing is that we do want to get this accomplished. We do want to do it in a way that is open and accessible to everyone in town. And yeah, so I think getting some of those subcommittee meetings on the calendar now is a good idea. If we think it's a possibility to schedule the opening of the public hearing for our June meeting. That's another thought to consider.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Lenke?
June 15th, we have a special meeting. We can also have a subcommittee after that.
No, I will not be present for that.
No, I wouldn't recommend that. I think they should be separate. I was going to suggest that either next Tuesday or next Thursday, the 2nd or 4th of June, we have the first working group. That would have to be an online Zoom meeting.
Okay.
I just have something. I think the problem is one, we can't see each other, so we don't know who's talking. I know, like Mr. Rice, it's just a picture of him. It's not his face. So I know he can see us if we have our face up there, and the meeting would be smaller. Do you know what I mean? There would just be the subcommittee people, and then the other people, if they want their face, they can see them. But maybe that might help him feel like we're actually in a meeting. And then if you mute everybody, then no background stuff gets in the way, and then we can actually hear the person talking. Because if someone snaps their fingers, if somebody's phone rings, it upsets the whole thing. So it is frustrating, and this doesn't feel real to me either. I feel like it's the fakest meetings I've ever been in, but hey, we'll play the game. So, but I totally get what Mr. Rice is saying, and I think we have to be sensitive to everybody. While some people are loving this, some people are hating it. So we have to go through the process, get what we need done, but we also have to make sure it's working for everybody. And we need to do that like ASAP. So if you mute everybody, if everybody can get a picture of themselves, maybe Mr. Rice just doesn't know how to do that. We can go and show him how to get a picture of himself up there, make sure he knows that he can mute himself, you know what I mean? And give a little bit of lessons before we actually ask them to participate. It might help.
I have a question.
Thank you, Charlene. I hear you completely. I've been teaching a language like this for 8 weeks, and I'm about ready to lose my mind. Ms. DeRocher.
Yeah, if we did have a location, is that a possibility, or it's just not because of the restrictions that are already against us?
Well, I would say in the short term, we're not going to be having any meeting that's going to allow for enough people to potentially include members of the public. And by the short term, I mean the month of June. You know, and I mean, it's a short-term project at this point, regardless whether we finish it at the end of June or finish it at the end of July. I am very skeptical about the idea that we're going to be able to have larger in-person meetings by the end of July either. But if circumstances change with the size of gatherings that's permitted, of course, we can also change those parameters. Okay. But I think it is reasonable to assume that even groups of 10 are an iffy prospect right now. And when you factor in the real need to include the public, because this is such a large project in terms of being able to hear our deliberations, in terms of us being able to ask the commenters to clarify their intent, you know, all that sort of thing, it would be in our best interest to do the most inclusive thing possible. And the most inclusive thing possible is to continue on the Zoom platform.
Okay. Yep. I understand that.
Fair?
I mean, I know that Club 2087 holds over 300 people, or can hold that. So that's why I was just curious if that was a possibility, but I totally understand what you're saying at the same time.
I mean, maybe if things loosen up a little more, that does come into play. But like I say, in the short term, I think that's more, you know, wishful than realistic.
I understand. Okay.
And I think to Charlene's point, I think we can make it a more user-friendly experience going forward and continue to work on that. I think we're all getting better at this platform, whether we want to get better at it or not, right? And so I think we can work in a way that is exactly that, more user-friendly to individuals.
Mr. Chairman.
So Joe, can we make a decision about the 2nd or 4th of next week, Tuesday or Thursday?
Yeah, I mean, Mr. Rice, and then I would like to do that as well. Yeah, Mr. Rice.
Just a comment to Charlene. I just don't want to see my picture. That's all. I do. To see me.
I don't have a
think
I don't
you-
have a webcam either, John. It's okay.
The other question I have for Tara, when do we as a commission have to get that COPD finished to the state?
The POCD is required to be updated every 10 years, and this is the 10th year. So by the end of this calendar year. So just to give you a little perspective, we've been working on this 100 and some page document for over 2 years. The POCD is a much smaller document, it's about 40 to 50 pages, but I'm giving myself 6 months with a committee that I'm going to have to pull together out of members of P&Z and conservation and, you know, whatever groups come together to work on that in 6 months and have a completed draft. So it's not like I have to have it done in 2 days, but you know, it's also not like it's going to be the only thing I'm working on during that time period as well. So there is some urgency, and the documents really do need to inform one another.
But my suggestion would be is that if you send out to all the commissions that and departments that have an input into that document, do it now, that you'll have to, instead of waiting until August 1st and then you got a deadline of 3 months. I mean, we, in the past.
I'm way ahead of you, John. I have not sent that out yet, but I'm certainly not waiting till August 1st. I'm sending that out on July 1st, as was going to be my plan, whether we had, you know, the regs adopted or not. 6 months will do it. But it is 6 months that that my attention is going to be primarily on that document and turned away from this, other than getting it wrapped up, final draft adopted, you know, doing the background work to help you guys get through adopting a final draft.
And I'm all for, you know, the public comment, but we just had public input. I mean, how many times do we have to keep going back to the public for their input?
That's true.
We are required to have a public hearing, so there is that.
Yeah.
But as you know, and as everybody on the commission knows, the public comments that we receive in public hearings, although they can inform your decisions, they are not a question and answer. So the extra informational session that I am proposing, and which council thought was a good idea, is exactly that. It is informational, it's less formal, and it is the opportunity for questions and answers in a different way than public comment, either received via email or, you know, in a chat window or over the phone in a Zoom meeting. So it's a different standard of getting public input, and it's more of us providing information for them in that case.
But you've been on, I think, on the radio and on the town website, giving these people, or the townspeople, I'm sorry, these people, the townspeople an opportunity to make comment on the regulations that you developed, and they did. Now, when you said there's probably 90 pages or whatever you indicated for that, compile that, give it to us in the commission, let us look at it. Then I would suggest then we sit down as a commission and go through them and see what we like and what we don't like as far as the public comment.
John, if I may, Tara's planning on doing that.
Right.
And the discussion guide, which will guide our, I'm doing it again, Tara, guide our discussions, which will serve as the foundation of our subcommittee meetings, are going to include those comments. What Tara is proposing is sort of 3 different exchanges of communication. In our subcommittee meetings, we would invite people who had made comments that we want to know more about to answer our questions. Those would be in the 2 to 3 subcommittee meetings. In the question and answer forum, it would be literally that. What is your question about the regulations? Why did we do it this way? Here's how we can answer it. A straightforward exchange of information. And then the third would be the public hearing, which, in addition to being required of us, right? Just is that final opportunity for members of the public to share their thoughts on the document as a whole.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, Tara, do you plan on, when we have this subcommittee, to have pretty much finalized it before you start? That I'm concerned about the town, the maps, you know,
We have the map.
that's gonna outline all these districts.
Yeah, we have the map. It's been on the website since just a couple of days after I posted the suggested draft, it took us a couple extra days to get it back from NECOG.
Okay, because I thought I looked at it and it didn't, it was difficult for me looking at it on the computer, if that's the map I was looking at, as to what the areas that were defined. I know there was a question about the Thompson Historical Preservation Area, where exactly those lines are, and that's pretty well defined, you're saying, in that map?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll have to go
Yeah,
back.
I mean, when you're looking at it on a computer monitor, you have to enlarge it and, you know, scroll over. But yes, it's a PDF that can be zoomed on.
Yeah, I can go up to 400% on this thing. But yeah, okay. I'll have to look at it.
Okay, so we've got June 2nd and June 4th. That's next Thursday. I'm sorry, next Tuesday and next Thursday proposed. Is there a preference of the commission for either of those days?
Joe, I'm sorry, is that a Thursday? If Amy is still on, I don't know when the next Board of Finance meeting is. I usually sit in on that.
It's June 1st. That's why I'm suggesting to stay away from next Monday.
Okay.
But I just unmuted Amy if she wants to add anything here.
No, this is Amy St. Ange. Yeah, the Board of Finance next meeting is June 1st. Correct.
Thanks, Amy. So June 2nd would be the Tuesday, June 4th would be the Thursday.
I can't make it June 4th.
Joe, why don't you do the equivalent of a voice vote and we'll just go with the majority.
Great, sounds good. So the vote will be 2nd or 4th?
And you have to count.
Oh gosh. Okay, Mr. Lenke.
June 2nd is fine. Yes.
Mr. Krogel.
Mike Krogel, June 2nd.
Ms. DeRogers.
June 2nd works for me.
Ms. Langlois.
June 2nd works for me.
Ms. Chattel.
June 2nd.
Mr. Rice.
I'm starting up my phone. I shut it off, so I have to look at my calendar. But
okay, we'll come back to you.
I'll let you know, whatever you decide, I'll make it happen. That's all, I guess.
Okay. Mr. Blackmer.
2nd will work.
Mr. Santos.
2nd is fine.
Mr. Nelson.
June 4th is better, but I can make it on June 2nd. I'm just going to be a little late, that's all.
Okay, Mr. Hill, does the 2nd work for you?
I think he's actually gone. I don't see him on the sidebar anymore.
Okay. And June 2nd is better for Cindy, so June 2nd we'll go with then.
It's good with me, Joe.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr.
June
Rice.
2nd, 7 o'clock.
7 o'clock. Thank you. So Tira, you'll get a Zoom meeting number for that for us, or Gloria?
I will, and I will send out at the end of this week everything I'm able to get through for that discussion guide. I got about 10 pages done today, so I figure I can probably get 30 to 40 pages done. And that sounds like a lot, but it's a very quick read. It's not as much as it sounds. Yes, so I'll get the complete comments as received from the public in their unadulterated form, the discussion guide, which puts those comments in order according to how the draft is laid out, and a Zoom meeting link. Yes.
Thank you.
Tara, John Rice, is there when you compile that, if the same person made comments, you're going to have that all in on the one person, I assume?
You are going to be amazed at what a masterful piece of organization it is. Every single person who has commented will be indicated, their exact comment, the item that it's commented on, the page,
Just that
the
one.
article number, the whole
That
schmear.
So, all right. Hey, that's what we pay you the big bucks for.
Thank you.
Look at me go.
Thank you.
Welcome.
If I may, without objection, I'll move on to item 8D, the ZEO report. Cindy, I know some of these items are highlighted in old business, but if there's anything you want to, or if there's any
No,
questions for Cindy?
I don't think so. Let me just run through it again. No, because, nope, we'll be discussing,
240.
discussing them under old business and new business.
Great. Item 9, correspondence. The minutes of the Zoning Board of Appeals, a memo from the CFPZA, a newsletter, notices from Webster and Douglas, a thank you card, and a message from Attorney Byrne on temporary outdoor dining and retail. Any questions or comments on the correspondence?
Just one, Joe, for me.
Mr. Rice.
I just want to tell Gloria, I read the minutes for the ZBA, and just well done.
Thank you, Mr. Rice. Thank you, Gloria. Item 10, signing of Mylar, none. Item 11, old business. Item 11A, inactive gravel operation at 240 Brickyard Road. Ms. Dunn.
Okay, so did everybody get to read my remarks in the memo concerning that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. All right, so I have not heard back from Orla. I mean, I know she's, you know, like the rest of us, sort of straight out. So I just have to wait to have Rich's, our attorney's question answered by Orla.
Okay, great. About the passbook, the bond, right?
Yes, this is concerning the bond.
Great, thank you. Any other questions for Cindy? Okay, item 11B, discussion from planner on progress of zoning review. I think we covered that thoroughly, Tara.
I think we did, sir.
I hope so.
Item 12, new business. 12A, Selectman Amy St. Ange, discussion on selling town property, 1395 Riverside Drive.
I'm going to unmute Amy, but she can.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Just, yes, Mr. Lanky.
All right, never mind. I think I probably jumped, but I thought there was a correspondence that was probably sent in today.
Yes, and it was that asked to be read into the file.
Yeah,
into the
so
record.
yeah, we're gonna let Ms. English.
Yep.
So, and then there's a request from Amy. So how are you going to approach this, Joe?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Correspondence wasn't listed on the agenda, right?
No, it came in today, John.
Yeah, guys, they're two related pieces. One informs the other. So I'm going to let Amy talk about her piece, and then we do have the other piece of correspondence, which I believe will be rendered moot by what she has to say. So I think that makes the most sense.
So this is Amy St. Ange. It was brought to my attention, there was a correspondence that I believe Tira and Cindy had received from Ken Beausoleil, where he mentioned in his email that the selectmen had not been approached about the potential sale of 1395. When I went back to the ordinance, I realized that I had missed that section. I thought that it had to go to P&Z first and then to the Board of Selectmen, and I had that backwards. So I sent an email and just said that I was going to withdraw my request for this discussion tonight because of that, because of my enlightened information.
So the correspondence that we had did directly relate to that, but with the withdrawal of that agenda item, it doesn't really bear anymore. So we can read it into the record if you like, but I would suggest that it makes more sense to wait until after the selectmen have had their meeting on the subject.
Any,
Excuse
Mr.
me.
Rice?
So what are you saying, that it has to go to the Board of Selectmen first before it comes to P&Z?
This is Amy St. Ange. John, yes. According to the ordinance, and I don't have the number in front of me, it's in my email correspondence. It does state that the Board of Selectmen presents it to Planning and Zoning Commission.
It's ordinance number 10-014.
Thank you, Cindy.
You're welcome.
What was that again, Cindy?
10-014.
That's
Thank
you.
Disposition of town-owned real estate property.
So,
I'm reading, excuse me, Joe.
Mr. Rice?
I'm reading that. I don't see where it says that it goes to the selectmen first, though.
Oh, the first sentence says the Board of Selectmen is hereby authorized.
Yeah, to sell, lease, or otherwise dispose of town-owned real estate property subject to the following conditions. Any real
Right, so the Board of Selectmen has not discussed it as a body yet, John. That's the crux of the issue. So the board can't present it because the board hasn't discussed it.
Yeah, I'm just reading it the opposite. Okay, whatever. Just that the situation of the planning approves disposition proposed to permanently transfer such real estate, the selectmen shall publish a notice soliciting bids for any proposed sale. Okay, well, let the selectmen bring it to us.
Thank you.
I don't read it that way, but it's okay.
Okay, so item 12A is withdrawn by Selectman Amy St. Ange. Item 13, Commissioners' comments. Hearing none. Item 14, our next meetings, the subcommittee for regulation rewrite will meet Tuesday, June 2nd at 7 p.m. And the Planning and Zoning Commission will have a regular meeting on June 22nd, 2020 at 7 p.m. Item 15.
Motion to adjourn, John Rice.
I second it.
I heard Missy DeRogers, so she'll get the second on that adjournment. It is 8:30 p.m. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone, for coming tonight.
Good meeting, guys.
Bye-bye.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
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 See you all in the morning.
Bye.
Have a good one.
All right.